Ladies and gentlemen, I'm somewhat disappointed in this director, James Cameron. But you know, as in all things, people are people. And you just learn a lot from these people. So James Cameron, speaking to Hadley Freeman, who works for The Guardian, and in his interview he was promoting Terminator 2, Judgment Day, in 3D format. He was asked about a variety of films that he actually directed. And he, was the lady who was directing him, was recounting all of the films that he actually had women play and tough female characters in, which was really awesome. They are usually gritty and they're usually tough, well, generally speaking. And James Cameron was asked, what did he make about the excitement over Wonder Woman? This is what James Cameron had to say. All of the self-congratulatory back-patting Hollywood's been doing over Wonder Woman has been misguided. She's an objectified icon, and it's just male Hollywood doing the same old thing. I'm not saying I didn't like the movie, but to me it's a step backwards. Sarah Connor was not a beauty icon. She was strong, she was troubled, she was a terrible mother, and she earned the respect of the audience through pure grit. And to me, the benefit of characters like Sarah is so obvious. I mean, half the audience is female. Now that to me is shocking that this guy would say that, especially the fact that he has really helped to boost the actor who plays Sarah Connor's career, but also just based on his history of filmmaking and the very same things he's accusing Wonder Woman of doing, he's done in his films. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. So James Cameron is known for the following films: Avatar. He's known for Titanic. He's known for True Lies. He's known for Terminator 2 and Aliens, even The Abyss. I'm going to highlight Aliens, Terminator 2, True Lies, and Avatar. Okay? Well, let's just analyze James Cameron's statement. He says that the self-congratulatory back-patting of Hollywood's over Wonder Woman has been misguided. She's an objectified icon. It's just male Hollywood doing the same old thing. What he means to say is she's just a female eye candy. All right, it was the same thing that the United Nations people who were complaining that Wonder Woman would be this UN ambassador. They don't want her to be. She's eye candy. Okay. Now, I find that very, very hypocritical, seeing that when we look at Avatar, in fact, that's his most recent movie, the character Neytiri, or Neytiri, he basically strips Neytiri down to almost nothing, right? And this is not even a human; it's humanoid. But I mean, I don't want to even go there. But the lead in this movie is not only stripped down to nothing, but also she's dependent on the male lead of the story. She's not even strong enough to carry on and lead her people. Now listen to what I'm saying. True Lies. True Lies was an action flick. And the wife of the character that Arnold Schwarzenegger plays, all right, she ends up stripping for Arnold Schwarzenegger's character. And what is so weird about this is the height of, let me use James Cameron's words here, objectification. And it's male Hollywood doing the same old thing. James Cameron was playing that card like if that was the only card he had to play. Okay, this is an action flick. Okay? So I'm not quite sure what he's talking about. And this character has to depend on her husband, Even though she gets badass and everything and toughens up, she still depends on her husband to lead the way in the movie. So we have 2 films in a row where the lead females, they're tough to some degree, but they're not the people leading. They don't have the power in their hands. It's the man leading them. It has to protect them, okay? The famous Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Sarah Connor is a badass. No doubt about it. But again, Sarah Connor needs protection from guess who? Arnold Schwarzenegger's T2. Right? Who's protecting her against the T-1000 or something like that. Alright? So, she cannot do it on her own. She needs protection from Arnold. In the first Terminator movie, again, James Cameron's movie. Oh, by the way, Sarah Connor, she gets scrapped down as well. She's in her undies at a certain point in time in the movie. In Terminator 2, I'm just showing you. Talking about objectification and objectification of an icon. In Terminator 2, Reese is the one protecting Sarah Connor. She's not good for herself. He has to lead the way, literally lead her and protect her all the way through the movie. And then he sleeps with her. I'm just saying. As much as this guy, he eventually has her formed into this tough person, she always needs a man to be protected by. She has to be protected by a man. I'm just saying. I'm not done. What's the next movie? Aliens. Oh, yeah, but Aliens was really a Ridley Scott's film. It really was started off with Ridley Scott. Now, to his credit again, the character Ellen Ripley. Tough. You could think of her as like someone who brings in the female power thing, right? Ellen Ripley, especially in his sequel to Aliens, which was Aliens Return in 1986. She was a tough character. She's coming to crack down on the aliens. They had a plan, as you can see there, and she sort of leads the team. Well, there's the commander, who is obviously a man, and she's leading the team in terms of her scientific expertise so that they can find these aliens and nail them down and finish them off. And really, to this day, the iconic robot that she uses to fight the alien is still one of the most epic looking scenes, and it's really cool, and it's a collector's model. All right, Cameron nailed it with the tough, gritty, but strong. No, she still ends up being stripped down in her undies again. I'm just saying, folks. I'm just saying. The typical tropes. And yes, she has to depend on a man to protect her. Yes, she does. And that man in this case, who teaches her how to shoot and everything, is the same guy that we see with Sarah Connor back in the day. That's right. This dude again comes back in Aliens. He does die in the end, but he's teaching Ellen Ripley how to shoot, how to use a gun, etc. I'm just saying. Okay? Wonder Woman destroys those tropes. Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor tries to teach her what the world is like and how things are like, but at the end of the day, she's the one leading the pack. She's the one leading and having the inspiration to stand up when Steve Trevor was saying, no, we can't do it this way, it's not possible. She's the one doing the impossible. Okay? And leading the Allies to victory. In fact, it is said like this. This is what it says. It's my favorite scene. This is Patty Jenkins on No Man Land scene. His favorite scene in the movie. It's the most important scene in the movie. It's also the scene that makes the least sense to other people going in, which is why it's a wonderful victory for me. I think that superhero movies, they fight other people, they fight villains. So when I started to really hunker in on the significance of No Man's Land, there were a couple of people who were deeply confused, wondering like, well, what's she going to do? How many bullets can she fight? I kept saying it's not about that. This is a different scene than that. This scene is about her becoming Wonder Woman. Meaning, it wasn't about, the scene wasn't about her fighting against someone and beating them up. This was about her wanting to help some people who called out to her to help. And she decided, against all odds, she was going to try and do that. And in so doing, she inspired a whole bunch of allies and Steve Trevor and the other people who thought it was not possible to move forward and therefore advance and therefore save this village. In the end, the village did succumb to the threat of the enemy, but the point is, she inspired them all to make a move, to make something that they thought was impossible possible. And I gotta say, that's deeper any day, any time than a tough, gritty woman. This Wonder Woman wasn't about being tough and gritty. The world that they lived in was already tough and gritty. There was already a realism for that. She was there to bring something else. And so for this guy, James Cameron, to say it's a step backward after all of those masochistic, okay, things that he did in his movies, okay, it's just ridiculous to say that's a step back for Hollywood. If I would prefer this step back any day to his forward progress for Hollywood, okay, because it's not just about being tough and gritty, but still having to depend on people, but you never lead nothing. No. I don't want to hear about that, okay? And he had his contribution. Hollywood had his contribution to having women in, tough, gritty roles. That was not what this movie was about. And this movie came out at a time where this guy, either he's missed a complete boat on this as an intellectual, or it could be that possibly he's so entrenched in that trope and those tropes of Hollywood that he cannot see how powerful this movie was and how much it is actually something that's changing Hollywood and will change it for the better. And the fact that a woman directed this means that it's coming from this woman's perspective. And the fact that we find out in his relationship he's so controlling anyway tells me that he's an A-type personality. This is what he feels, the whole world must be how he thinks it is. That's another thing that's sad. It's good to be opinionated, don't get me wrong. But it's really sad when you're disconnected from reality and what's actually happening, and you can't see the significance of that because you're so grounded in your own ideologies and your principles that you've made contributions to the forward momentum, but you can't go any further because your mind restricts you from entertaining things which are not tough and gritty, in your opinion. He feels that a female lead should be tough and gritty. They don't necessarily have to be independent, but they need to be tough and gritty. And he doesn't understand that he just put a limit on how far not only women can go, but that women can't be women. In other words, women must be tough and gritty. Otherwise, they're not strong female characters. And that's not true. A woman's strength doesn't have to be in being tough and gritty. A woman's strength is in the attributes that she possesses. Her capability to bring people together. Her ability to hear out people, understand, feel for other people. That's also an attribute, not just for women, but for men as well, but an attribute that describes strength, not just being tough and gritty. And so the fact that this guy missed the boat on that is sad. It really is. On top of that, Wonder Woman wasn't as exposed as any of those characters there. Neither did she ever have to compromise herself and her individualism just to get eyes to watch a movie. And so I thought, and not only that, but she comes from an environment, Amazons, who are not like that. So I just feel like James Cameron totally missed the boat on this movie. And I just wanted to highlight that because I just thought it was something that was kind of perturbing, for someone who has been always having these blockbuster hits and a guy who really thinks about how he puts out his movies. For him to miss the boat on this so severely, I know that it was a severe lashback on Twitter to his statement, and rightfully so. Now, he was a guy who approved of Batman v Superman, and there was no lashback to that. But the fact that worldwide people are lashing back at this dude, it's right, because he missed the boat on this one. He totally missed the boat on this one, and he should have learned his lesson after so many divorces, but apparently he didn't. Yeah, I went low like that. I'm sorry, but I had to. You have to be somebody who at least you can grow as a person. So you don't make stupid statements like that. That's a stupid statement. I'm just going to flat out say. He's a great director, but that's a stupid statement. Anyway, on that note, you guys have a great one.